Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you are new to me and it's the first time you're seeing my face, hello, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So I hope that's why you're here, because that's what's going to be happening today. If you're not new to me, thank you for always tuning in, the continued support. I really do appreciate it. So today for you, I have my weekly wrap up. This is week 46. This encompasses the dates from November 10th through November 16th and all my reading shenanigans in between. So if you'd like to find out what was occupying my time this week, besides work and all that other jazz, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat, and let's get talking some books. My straw is trying to escape from my drink. All right, so I completed 3 books this past week and I started a 4th one. I'm still on a roll, guys. Holy shit, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I feel like I'm kind of like back. I feel like I'm back, which makes me really, really happy. So let's just dive right in. The first book I completed was the conclusion. That's a new word. Just so you know, it's a new word, inventing it. Here we go. First time using it. The completion of a trilogy that I've been working on, and that is the Gay Amish Romance trilogy by Kira Andrews, and the 3rd installment was A Way Home. Looks like this. Like I said, final installment to this trilogy. I've had a really, really good time with this one. I've listened to all 3 of these on audio, and they've all been performed by John Solo. I really enjoyed his work on this. I thought he did a really, really good job conveying different voices for each of the characters, along with also just having that emotional component to this story, and especially this one to boot, because this one is where it's a little bit more difficult than the rest of the installments. We do have, this is an MM romance, of course, and we have graphic sexual content, we have dealings with terminal illness, and we do have some triggers for some hate speech within religious views. Not hate speech as in, I don't really know how to describe this, because it's not your traditional, I don't want to say traditional hate speech, because what's traditional hate speech? Like, that condones that there's actually a normative, that kind of bullshit. It's the speech that they are using towards Isaac and David is coming from a religious background, not a personal one, because you do see within the story that there is conflicting opinions. There is, I have to go with the church. There's also, this is my family. How can I believe this? How can I feel this? And there's that turmoil within our characters. So there is hate speech in this. So I do want to make you aware of it if that is a trigger for you. And it's not an easy one to process, especially if you are easily affected by this kind of behavior, or you've experienced this kind of prejudice because of your sexuality. This one's a little bit more difficult to experience, to deal with. So I just want to make you aware of that. Out of the 3 installments, this is probably the hardest, because the first installment definitely dealt with the internalized struggles. The second one was just kind of that opening, and then seeing how some people are accepting of it and some people are not. And then the third one is coming to the realization that there are going to be people out there that are important to you, that because of who you love, you will never be important to them. And just kind of coming to grips with, is this, can I live in this kind of world, or do I have to leave it? So this one definitely deals with a lot of struggles. So please be warned about that. But a quick summary, this is a direct follow-up to the first 2 installments, which is, I'll put them right here for you guys. I don't remember the titles off the top of my head. There you go. A Forbidden Rumspringa and A Clean Escape, I think. But it's a direct follow-up, so you do have to read these 2 installments to understand this book. And we are following Isaac and David. This is the culmination of their story. And they have had to come back home, back to Zebulon, to help out Isaac's brother. Isaac's brother has been diagnosed with a terminal cancer, and they want to test all the family to see if there is a match for some bone marrow. Now, in some instances, modern day medicine is not allowed in the Amish community, but in this regard, the church is making an exception for this, so they are allowing this. But not only does Isaac and David come back, but Aaron, the long lost brother, the first son of Isaac's parents, and Isaac's older brother, who Isaac and David are currently staying with in San Francisco, he comes back. Now, he was baptized in the church and left, so he is completely 100% shunned. And in their faith, in their ordinum, they are not allowed to receive anything from him. They are not allowed to touch him. They're not to acknowledge him. I mean, he's like an invisible ghost. And so you definitely see this turmoil with them. Now, throughout the story, our families believe that our boys, Isaac and David, are back for good. So they're trying just to reacclimate them back into society, saying, you know, well, what happened, you're back, it doesn't matter anymore. But Aaron is definitely the black sheep, and he is shunned still. And Isaac and David are finding out that they cannot ever be what they were. They have to sneak around again, they have to hide who they are, and they've had a taste of acceptance. They've had a taste of welcoming. They've had a taste of being able to see each other every single night and hold each other every single night and not be judged or thought less than. And they are not willing to give that up. So there's a lot of emotional turmoil in this. And then we also see the side of the family where they want their family members back, but at the same time, they can't accept it. So we see a lot of struggle. There's a lot of struggle in this book. This one was really hard to almost kind of get through because of the amount of emotional turmoil in this story with outside sources. Not so much our couple, they are struggling against exterior sources. And that's always difficult when you feel like the whole world is against you and all you have is your partner. If you've ever experienced that, it's hard. And Kiera Andrews definitely conveys that really, really well in the story. So what worked in this book? The continuity. It picked up right where we left off. I mean, you could have just kept reading, essentially. Like, there was no hiccups, there was no backtrack, nothing. And the info dump was not there. So literally you have to read this book, to understand it, you have to read the other two, because there's no info dump. There's no blip reminder. There's nothing. It's picking up right where it left off. Like, she took this story and cut it in two to make two books. That's what it feels like. I thought it was really, really good. I had a good time with it. I never lost that momentum that the second story had given me. It just kept me going. But then it took from action to more emotional. So she did that flip very, really, really, really well. And she did it very quickly. You knew very much going into the point of this book, the first part of this book, that this was not going to be a busy experience, all these new things. It was going to be an emotional roller coaster, not a physical one, for sure. So definitely enjoyed that. I thought she handled it really, really well. I loved the portrayal of the struggle of both sides of a choice. So Isaac and David were born this way. They were born this way. Their choice is they chose to live the way they were born. And now they have to see the struggles on both sides. There are struggles on both sides for every choice. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is a choice to be homosexual, because it's not. It's who you are. It's who you were born to be. But it is a choice on you're choosing to live like that. Just like you're choosing to not live like that. I was born straight. I choose to live straight. I don't choose to live another way. Could I? Absolutely. Would I struggle? Abso-fucking-lutely, because it's not who I am. That's what I'm trying to say and get out in a kind of a really weird sort of way. So when I'm talking about this, the portrayal of struggle, the choice, it's the struggle that they chose to live their true self. And a lot of people don't choose to live their true self. They'd rather hide it because they think it might be easier. The emotional struggle, the payoff isn't worth it. But for them, the payoff was worth it. And seeing that, yes, they have peace and happiness within themselves, but to see that people that they have raised them, people they have loved for their entire life, people that have cared for them when they were sick, lifted them up when they were down, can't have anything to do with them anymore because they're being who they are. Just understanding that by being who I am means you're no longer part of my world, and having to accept that. Is that right? Absolutely not. That's fucking bullshit. That's stupid. But that's the way our characters were written, and that's the way our characters were designed. So these are the struggles that they have to deal with. And I feel like Kiera Andrews really nailed it on the head, because she gave us both sides. She gave us Isaac saying, maybe can we stay here? Can we go back to the way it was? She has David never wanting to, and then we think we might have this like internal struggle, but we realize that quickly that it's not. But then we have the families who want to accept them back and just kind of forget everything, but know that they can't. And at the same time, struggling with, you're my child, you're my son. Don't think for a second that I don't think about you. But I have to go with the church. This is the choice I've chosen. And you have to respect that just as much as I have to respect yours. And the way we are going to respect it is to not acknowledge each other. Because we are at an impasse that our views do not meet. And so we have to separate. And I just really enjoyed her showing that, because that's something you don't always see. I don't read a lot of romances. I don't. So I cannot speak as like an expert on this, but the ones I have read, it always seems to be that they have kind of like a happy ending where people just all, Hallmark movies, they're just like, oh, we're just accepting of it. Even though for the last 20 chapters, we've been completely against this. People aren't like that. People can be like that, but it takes time. And in a book, we just don't have that. And some people can never be like that. So I like the fact that she showed it. Is it incredibly disturbing that there are people out there like that? Absolutely. Is it incredibly difficult to know that there are people out there who will never get to be part of their family again just because of who they love? Absolutely. I think that's incredibly terrible. I think that's horrible. But it's a choice that we all have to make. Do we, by choosing to live their true selves, they are saying no to everything that came before them. Their families choosing to not acknowledge them is saying that, yes, you were there before, but because of this, I can't. This is not how I raised you. But it's 6 one, half dozen the other. I'd like to see both sides of the story, but truthfully, I can't get behind the parents. No matter how much I wanted to understand and try to keep an open mind about them, I just kind of want to punch them in the face most of the time. Not gonna lie, I did, but I felt that Kira Andrews did a really good job of showing that struggle on both sides and trying to get the reader to not really choose sides, but to understand that this is a painful thing for both parties involved, all parties involved. And it is not an easy thing, and it is going to be painful, but it can also be beautiful at the same time, because when it all comes right down to it, people are people and they need to choose their people. And Isaac has David and David has Isaac. So they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. I loved when we have the big coming out moment. Not to be a spoiler, but it's kind of self-assumed that it's going to happen in this story based off the way the story is bringing up. I loved the tonal change in Kiera's writing. So prior to this coming out moment, they've come out to each other. They've come out to Aaron. They've come out to San Francisco. But their parents don't know. There's still this overhanging cloud of, we're ashamed of who we are. But the minute that it comes out, the way Isaac and David's speech patterns are written has changed. There's no more, it feels almost lighter. Even as the reader, it feels lighter to read their discussions, even in the discussions of when they're defending who they are as people. It doesn't feel like a fight anymore. It just feels natural. This is who I am. I'm sorry that you don't like it, but this is who I am. And it's so light compared to what it was, because when it was written before, it was written with this tinge of self-loathing, self-betrayal, family betrayal, things of that nature, like these little undertones. But if you really watch the way she wrote Isaac and David after that coming out moment, the way their speech patterns are, and the way they talk to people other than to each other, there's not this, I don't want to say aloofness, like they don't care, because they do still care. This is their family. But they've reached the point where I care what you think, but I'm not going to do a damn thing about it. So thank you for your opinion, but this is how it is. And you can choose to accept it, or you could choose to walk away. I'm not going to be angry either way, because I don't want you angry with me for my choice. This is this true acceptance of really who they are. And finding that final piece and feeling 100% in themselves. I loved that because we didn't get that until this very moment. There was always, no matter who they came out to, no matter who they spoke to, there was always this like holding back almost. And after that, it was just, let's move the fuck on. Let's start our lives. Let's start our lives because this isn't it. This is our assurance. This is not it. And we need to do what's right for us. So I just love that. Also, I loved Aaron. I want a story about Aaron. I like him. So Aaron is the elder brother of Isaac, and he left the church after being baptized. So he's 100% shunned, but he comes back to see if his bone marrow can match his brother. And without ruining the story, he plays a much bigger part in his brother's cure than any of the other siblings. So the fact that we can't accept anything from the Orton, according to the Orton, they can't accept anything from him. There's this big religious meeting with the bishops and all this other political crap, and Aaron just has to sit here and struggle with it. Not only is he struggling the fact that his family wants nothing to do with him, he has to struggle with the fact that his family might actually let his brother die because they won't accept something from him. Like, just the hypocrisy he has to put up with, and he does. It's fucking insane. And he's caring about a brother that he's literally never met because he left when this brother wasn't even born. A complete stranger. A complete stranger. But because he's related, he wants to help. I loved Aaron's character. I loved his growth. I loved his struggle. I loved his fight. I loved him. And I love that he never backed down. He was accepting 100%. And at the very end, he gets his own little bit of acceptance. And I really enjoyed that moment. It wasn't a big one. It kind of sucked because that's the most that could happen. But at least he got that. And so I feel like for his story, that's the best that he was going to get. And he knew that. So he took it. And he's going to go on with his life, just like he has. And I think that's great. I loved his character. I thought he was a great addition to the story. I'm glad that he was brought more into the focus of it. I'm really, really glad that I got to see more of him in Zebulon and kind of that struggle, because it definitely gave another window to this Amish lifestyle, the almost the darker side of the Amish lifestyle of what happens when this actually, because stuff like this could happen, of what theoretically could happen. As much as I really enjoyed this installment, there was some stuff that didn't work. There was one major scene where the Deacon Schultzfist, whose daughter passed away due to David's older brother on their Rumspringa. So Deacon Schultzfist has been kind of a thorn in the side of this entire trilogy. There's a scene where he finally confronts David, and he basically blames David for everything. You're just like your brother. You corrupted Isaac. Your brother corrupted my daughter. You're a bad seed, all sorts of stuff. And David just sits and fucking takes it and apologizes for his brother. Get fucked. Absolutely get fucked on that. I despised that scene. I did not like that. I felt that was a backtracking for David. He had just overcome this coming out. He had talked to his family. He had accepted it. He was back with Isaac. Everything was good. And then this comes in and he just like cowers in the fucking corner. And it pissed me off. I was like, no, I want David to stand up. He stood up all these other times. I wanted him to say, you know what? That sucks that my brother fucking did that. But I'm not him. I'm not him. And you can't penalize me for him. You got a problem with him? Go meet him. Go meet your maker and have a fucking conversation with him. Because I'm not it. Talking to me is not going to do a goddamn thing. But he didn't. He just took the higher road. And that's where I was just like, man, I wanted David to be like, I didn't want him to like hit the guy. I didn't want him to get in a fight. I just wanted him to say, I'm not sorry for who I am. I'm not sorry for being related to him. He did that. That was his choice. It was also your daughter's choice. Maybe you should have paid more fucking attention to her. Maybe if you weren't so stuck up with the church the entire time, you would have seen that your daughter needed help. And she wouldn't have succumbed to his wiles or anything like that. Like, I understand not throwing dead people under the bus, but I also don't believe in sanctifying dead people. And I feel in this scene, David was just kind of like allowing the sanctification of his brother, even though his brother made stupid fucking choices and paid with his life and caused the lives of other people because he was making fucking stupid choices. All right? End of fucking story on that one. And it pissed me off. It annoyed me. It felt like a little bit of a slam back on David. And I'm like, David didn't deserve that. He didn't. He'd overcome all this other stuff. He did not need to deal with that. He needed to take his power that he had earned rightfully, that he had stood up, that he'd taken possession of, and really give it to the person that fucking needed it. And he didn't, which was annoying as fuck. But you know what? David has Isaac, and that makes me happy. As for a spice rating, I gave this 2 chili peppers. This one was much dialed down compared to the other 2 installments. Like I said, more emotionally draining of an installment. So I get why there wasn't as much physical, but we did get some of that sneaking around again that we got in the first installment. So that was kind of fun to see that kind of playfulness and that hidden secretism kind of come back to us a little bit. I thought that was great. Revisit some old favorite places. And so the spice, although downplayed much more than the other 2 installments, I definitely had a good time with it. I thought there was a nice balance with it, for sure. So all in all, I gave this installment 3 stars. I had a really good time with this trilogy. It was a fun one. There is a Christmas kind of novella installment. This is the core trilogy. I don't know. I think it is a novella. I think it is, that I might be picking up just to kind of see their side of the story, but I have read that Carrie Andrews is not necessarily done with our Isaac and David, that maybe she will be doing a book a couple years later in their story, a new chapter in their life. So I'm really excited to see where that goes, because I think they've got a really bright future for them, and they've got each other. So as long as they have each other, then that's all that matters. So I had a really good time with this trilogy. It was a fun one. All in all, if you guys would like to see a full series video on this trilogy, give me a heads up, let me know, and I would be glad to do it, because I had a really good time with this one. It was definitely fun. It was a good one. The next book I completed this week was this guy. Let me grab it. Is Mountains Made of Glass by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the first installment to a new novella series called a Fairytale retelling, and I gave this boy 3.5 stars. So it's this is primarily Beauty and the Beast, but we have some other fairy tales mixed in. In her author's note, she actually goes into description of which pieces came from which fairy tale and whatnot. There were some fairy tales in here that I didn't know, and some of them that I did pick up. So she does piecemeal from a lot of fairy tales, like little minor Easter eggs almost, but the main component is Beauty and the Beast. That's the kind of the base storyline. We do have graphic sexual content. It's Scarlett St. Clair. Of course, we're going to have some smut. This is captive and a hate to love component as well. So a brief series, we have Gisela, I think is how you say her name, Gisela. She lives alone in a village, and the well goes dry, and it's her turn to try to deal with the curse. And in this world, when you break the curse, it's not always a happy ending for you. You could die, you could starve. But this village has chosen her because she lives alone, and she has to get rid of this toad in this well. When she goes into the well, she frees the toad. Okay, she gets the toad out, but she's supposed to kill the toad. She doesn't want to kill the toad. All right, she doesn't want to. She gets him out. Actually, the toad gets her out of the well. And then in a scuffle, he dies. Well, the toad is a elven prince who was turned into a frog, and his brothers come to her and say, as payment, you're going to be living with our other brother, the beast, for 7 or 10 years or something. You know, very like, what the fuck kind of moment. You know how fairy tales are. Things just fucking happen because they fucking can happen. All right. And then she's sent off to live with the other elven brother, which we call the beast. And our story kind of commences from there with our Beauty and the Beast sort of retelling. So what worked in this, I enjoyed the incorporation of all the different fairy tales. Many of them were very seamless. Were they seamless enough that you couldn't pick them out? No. They were clear enough that you're like, that's Snow White. That's The Prince and the Frog. That's Beauty and the Beast. That's Rumpelstiltskin. You know, you could pick them out, some of these different attributes. You could pick them out. But the way she tied all the pieces together, it was a nice, seamless puzzle. I really, really enjoyed it because even though I picked them out, it wasn't so clear that it disturbed the flow of the story. So I really enjoyed that. Thought that was great, especially when you're dealing with so many different entities that it didn't muddle the waters. It just made a nice kaleidoscope picture, which I thought was really cool. What I really enjoyed about this is it returned the darkness to fairy tales. So this is really based off the original Grimm and Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales. So the dark ones, you know, like we're not, this is not Walt Disney Beauty and the Beast, okay? This is not Walt Disney Beauty and the Beast. It's not Walt Disney Snow White. This is Grimm, Hans Christian Andersen, whole 9 fucking yards, okay? Darkness, blood, curses, witches, goblins, eating children type things, okay? Smashing toads' heads with rocks, like violence. I enjoyed that she went that route. Growing up, I grew up on classic Disney that takes a lot of these stories and makes them child appropriate, more digestible, if you will, watered down versions, morals being taught in a much nicer way. And as an adult, do I want to go back and relive those childhood memories? Absolutely. But I'm an adult. I can handle the adult content. So I'm glad that she gave it to me. She gave me back the fairy tales the way they were when they were originally told, orally, written down, stories that were told to children to teach them to behave the right way or bad shit was going to fucking happen to you. Okay? It's just how it is. So I liked that we went back to that. I really enjoyed that. And the fact that she was able to encompass so many of them in such a short story, loved it. What didn't work for me for this was that you have to understand something. Scarlett St. Clair's one of my favorite authors, and I love her. I love this bitch. But I have read the Hades and Persephone series. I've read both sides of it. And it is not an insta-love story. It is a built story. It is a long, slow burn fighting for this romance. I am not used to insta with Scarlett St. Clair. And this was very, very insta. Of course, it is a fairy tale retelling, so you have to tell the beginning to the end in a very short time frame. So I get the purpose of it, but it was definitely something that I had to get, I will have to get used to read this series. I cannot read this series like I read Hades and Persephone or Tristan and Isolde. Her Tristan and Isolde retelling. I can't read them like that. I have to read them in a different scope, that understanding that this is going to be start, middle, end very, very quickly. I don't get a lot of breathing space. So stuff has to happen quickly, stuff that I normally would see her flesh out and bring more to the forefront and put more symbolism in. She's just giving me the bare bones because it's a fairy tale. It's supposed to teach you a lesson and move the fuck on. Like, that's what it is. So, I miss the slow pull that I'm used to having from her, but I do understand why it wasn't there. But if you're going into this series thinking that she's writing it like her previous series, she's not. You do have to be aware that she is definitely using a different writing technique. Does she still have the smut in here? Absolutely. Does she still have her kind of dark, sarcastic, witty humor? Absolutely. That's still there. It's just the writing technique. She has condensed it down immensely. So if you're expecting this drawn out story and this slow burn and this just sex oozing off the page, it's not. It's kind of wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, let's move the fuck on, next story kind of thing. Still well written, still well done, but definitely a lot faster, and you just have to kind of accept that going in. This is the first installment to a new series because she is writing an installment about each one of the brothers, but I kind of wanted a little bit of backstory, just a little bit, because why are the brothers such fucking dicks? Like, why are they such assholes? I did not understand that. I don't know if it's going to be explained in the other installments. We also don't know why one was a frog. And we really don't know why we understand why he's cursed, why the beast is cursed. But again, fast-paced. We don't get a lot of backstory. And I feel like just a little bit more would have been nicer. Maybe she's going to be giving us the backstory throughout each installment, and then you kind of have to have this like story within a story sort of thing. I'm not quite for sure yet, but for this installment, I felt like I needed a bit more of the backstory. But fairy tales, you don't get backstories. You just get it and you move on. The Witch in Hansel and Gretel is just a witch who eats children because she fucking can. Like, moving the fuck on, you know? I gave this 3 chili peppers on the spice scale. We got some angry sex in this because it is captor captive, hate to love. Yeah, that's dope. Angry sex with Scarlett Sinclair is always a good fucking time. Always a good time. But again, really fast. Everything's super fast. Everything's super, like that. And you have to read it differently. I do have the sequel already, Apples Dipped in Gold. It's already been released and I did purchase it. So I will be picking the second one up probably pretty soon. But I will know next time reading it that I have to take myself out of Hades and Persephone and read it like I would read a fairy tale. Quickly. But yeah, I gave this thing 3.5 stars, had a good time with it, plan on continuing with it as she releases them because it's Scarlett Sinclair. I love this bitch. Did not walk in as a 3. So this whole new series, she doesn't walk in as a 3 anymore. That's only Hades and Persephone. So she had to earn the 3.5. So that's a plus for that too. The next book I completed was another Kiera Andrews, but it was a standalone and it was Kidnapped by a Pirate. It looks like this. This is another audiobook done by Cornell Collins. Again, standalone, again, romance. We have a historical pirate and seafaring, captor captive age gap with close proximity. So a lot of fun tropes in this one. So we have Nathaniel, okay? Nathaniel's on his way to get married in the New World, and his ship is boarded by pirates. He is discovered that he is the son of the man who framed Captain Hawk, the pirate who's boarded his ship. Captain Hawk used to be a privateer, not a pirate, but when Nathaniel's father decided to take his bounty and label him as a pirate and basically turn him into the pirate that he is, Captain Hawk decided he hated this guy. And when he finds out Nathaniel is his son, he decides to take him as ransom for revenge. And that's how Nathaniel gets on board the pirate ship. And that is where our story starts off at. Now, what worked? The original plot line. I love the ransom aspect. I thought it was good. I thought the backstory was good. I thought it was plausible. That made sense. I liked that. I liked all of that. Thought that was great. Another thing was I liked Captain Hawk's compassion towards Nathaniel when we find out Nathaniel's kind of backstory. Nathaniel is not, he can't read very well, but he's very good with his hands. He's a more physical learner than he is academic learner. And he has been deemed simple-minded by many, many people, and Captain Hawk doesn't really buy that. But when he finds that out, he doesn't judge him for it. He just kind of accepts him, and he also finds out that Nathaniel is not attracted to women, and neither is Captain Hawk. So he does not judge him for his tastes or his choices or who he is as a person. I liked the compassion that he showed. He was non-judgmental. He understood. He accepted. Even though he was a captive, he treated him like a captive, but he didn't speak to him like it once he started to get to know him and realized that he is not a son born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's struggled a lot because his dad's a fucking dick, and he hasn't had the easiest life. And Captain Hawk can kind of relate to that and understand it. So I enjoyed that compassion, how it was seen through. It did definitely give a layer of Captain Hawk that would begin this romance that was about to start, some kind of substance. It didn't just jump right into it. So I like the fact that we got that out of the way before carnality began. So I enjoyed that. There's a huge fight in this book between Captain Hawk and Nathaniel towards the end. I would say it's almost like the third act breakup, if you had to label it something. I enjoyed this fight because it was a real fight. Captain Hawk was at a struggle. He started to fall for Nathaniel, but he was also sacrificing his crew, who he loved. This was his family. So he was struggling with what to do. And he's a pirate. What kind of life can he give Nathaniel? What can he give him except a life of on the run, fear, things of that nature. So usually I'm not a fan of the I'm going to pick a fight just to get rid of you kind of synopsis in real life or in books. I think it's stupid. I think it's fucking dumb. But in this instance, I like the way she did it, because in his internal monologue, when he's choosing his words to say to Nathaniel, we see him really debating what to say and how it's going to be taken. And then we hear what he actually says to Nathaniel. And then we learn if he was right in his judgment or not. And I really enjoyed that, because I feel like when people do this, this is what happens. I'm not a huge fan of this. If there's a fucking problem, you talk about the damn problem. The problem is he's in love with Nathaniel, and he promised the crew that if his father doesn't pay, he's going to kill him. And he can't kill him now because he's too invested, because he fucked up and slept with the dude and fell in love with him. All right? Let's be honest. That's the fucking problem. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. But instead of saying that, he is choosing his words specifically to hurt Nathaniel, to get him to hate him, to get him to walk away, to get him to see him as the pirate that his crew sees him as, that is his family, that he knows has more pull than Nathaniel. He's choosing the lesser of two evils. He knows what this life is like. He knows that he can live this life. He has no idea what could happen if he went with Nathaniel and chose Nathaniel. He has no idea. He's choosing the evil he knows versus the evil he doesn't, okay? Straight up he is. And so when he's choosing the words that he's fighting Nathaniel with, he chooses them knowing that they are going to hurt, and they are going to sting, and they are going to leave him looking at him not in the same way ever again. And I feel like when people fight like this is exactly what they do. I say that I'm not a fan of this, doesn't mean I haven't done it. I was young and stupid once, and I have done this. I have physically said things to people to shut them up, to hurt them, so they shut the fuck up and leave me alone. And to fight, okay? We do this, okay? People do this. Is it right? Absolutely fucking not. Did I learn my lesson? Absolutely. Do I do it anymore? No, I fucking don't. I open my mouth, and I'm a big girl, and put my big girl panties on, and I fucking say the goddamn problem, even if it's something that's, I'm the fucking problem, all right? Let's just fucking be honest about that, okay? But it doesn't mean I didn't do this when I was younger and stupid. So when he's doing it, I respect the fact that Kiera Andrews took this route. Because Captain Hawk, although much older than Nathaniel, still lives a pretty fucking sheltered life. Still on his boat. He doesn't open himself up. He's emotionally very immature. Nathaniel, just immature. So I like the fact that this fight was almost equal on their grounding, and he fought that way. I know that sounds really dumb, but I like the way he fought this, because in the end, he needed him to go away. He needed him to not love him, because it was easier for him if he hated him, if Nathaniel hated him. And it was going to be easier for him than a pirate. He's a fucking pirate. It's not like he's known for taking the harder route. Okay? It makes sense for his character to fight like this and not be open about his feelings and things of that nature. So I enjoyed this fight, because when we get the growth arc after this fight, you see the growth. You see him really say, I only said those things so you'd hate me. And Nathaniel looked at him and is like, I could never hate you. I love you. And understanding that no matter how petty, how small he is, this person is willing to forgive him. This simple-minded person is willing to forgive him. Shuts him up completely. I loved that fight because I liked the way it was resolved. I had a good time with it. I thought it was a plus side to the book for sure. Because even though I liked that fight, there was some stuff in this book that I didn't like and it didn't work. especially with Nathaniel. I like the fact that Nathaniel forgave Hawk the way he did, but what I didn't like about Nathaniel was his abruptness to his sexuality. We know early on that Nathaniel is gay, okay? He likes men. Who gives a fuck, all right? But this is set in the 1600s. A lot of people give a shit. A lot of people did, okay? But he's never had sex with a man. And when finally sex occurs between Captain Hawk and Nathaniel, after that, Nathaniel's like, it's almost contractual the way he talks about it, the tone behind it. It was just like, I want your cock. I haven't had your cock in a while. Can I have it? What? The fuck is going on? Like, there wasn't any romance. There wasn't any, like, je ne sais quoi to it. It was just like a business transaction. So how you get love and a compassion out of the business transaction of sex, I don't fucking know. Because it did not blend. That did not blend at all. It didn't. The one time, though, where it did blend was when Hawk fulfilled one of his fantasies. Because it was so spontaneous. It was so fluid. There wasn't coming to have a conversation, let's do this. It was, I've always wanted someone to take me like this. And he did. It was just him speaking a feeling, a thought, and Hawk reacting to it. It wasn't a conversation. It wasn't business-like. It was very emotional, spontaneous-like. And I enjoyed that scene. So the abruptness with Nathaniel and him, just the way he wanted to have sex, was weird. I didn't like it. I also didn't like the fact that there was constant justification for wanting aggressive sex. I hated that. I hated that. I did. I understand that when, you know, sometimes if you have two people that want aggressive, sometimes, like, there are people out there that like to be hurt. They like marks, okay? They do, okay? There's nothing fucking wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with accepting that or enjoying that, as long as it's consensual. If it's consensual, there's nothing fucking wrong with it, okay? But the problem is, in this book, there was a lot of justification. Every time a mark was left, it was, oh my God, did I hurt you? Oh my God. No, I wanted you to do this. I wanted it like this. This constant tug and pull of, you're a fucking pirate. Why the fuck do you care if you left a goddamn bruise on him? Like, the fuck, man? You're a pirate. What the fuck? And you have this kid who has to make you feel better that you left a bruise on him, that he asked you to leave? Nah, get fucked on that. No. Show that shit off. Come on. Yes. Yes. There are consequences to aggressive sex. Own them or don't do it. Plain and simple. Okay? Thanks. There was a lot of sex in this book. A lot more than romantic progression. And that was annoying. Don't get me wrong, I like a hot, sexy book. But I wanted the romance between these two because there was supposed to be one. And the progression just didn't fit with the type of sex they were having. They were having very contractual, very business-like, very, I want your dick. I haven't had it in a while. Let's do this. I want you to do this. I want you to do this. There wasn't a lot of emotional pull, and it bothered me. It did. There was some emotional pull later on, but I don't see where it came from because all I saw was aggressive sex. Now, there was some scenes where they held each other tenderly. They took care of each other because they got hurt by reasons other than sex. All right. There's some fights in here. And I saw that. But that doesn't lead the type of love that you would throw your entire world away, risk your own neck to go save somebody who's condemned to die. No. That shows an immaturity. That shows that didn't flow well with me. So it's like, no, I needed more of a romantic pull. I needed more of that. I needed more of those moments where Hawk was reading to him. I needed Nathaniel to show emotion of what Hawk was reading, because Hawk was reading some beautiful stuff to him. I needed that. I needed those moments to really believe that. I didn't need to just be told them. I needed to see them. I needed to live them. And I didn't, which was annoying. Which was because I had read Kira Andrews a Forbidden Rumspringa, and I got that romance. I got that. I got that pull. I got that tension. I got that romance. I got that building. I got those moments. And I believe that romance. I don't believe this one because I didn't have those emotional moments. All I had was physical moments. Hot, but only physical. Okay. I did give this 4 chili peppers on the spice rating. More sex in the story than I am used to from Kiera Andrews. There was a lot of sex in the story, a lot of hot sex. If you like men on men, you will enjoy this. There's a lot of dominance in this. A lot of it. Really enjoyed that. The beach scene. This is the fantasy fulfilled scene. Oh. Wow. Yeah. Definitely listen to that one on repeat. That was emblazoned in my brain for a hot minute. It was great. Absolutely. So definitely, if you're looking for some smut, here you go. Yeah. Holy shit, yeah, that was great. That scene, man. I mean, sand gets fucking everywhere, man. So, like, I can only imagine the fucking cleanup. And he didn't even make a joke about that afterwards, which I thought was great. But, I would, yeah. It was a good fucking scene. That was a pirate sex scene for me. Oh. Huh. Absolutely. I was so happy about that one. But I gave this book all in all 3 stars. I think I like her series. This is my first standalone by her. I do have another standalone that I want to pick up by her as well. I kind of got a little taste of it at the end of this Audible book. Oh, and by the way, this was done by Cornell Collins, if I didn't say that earlier. This was an audiobook by Cornell Collins, and he did a really good job with the sex scenes and talking, because that's one thing you hear in audiobooks, like when they're actually talking during sex, which I like. That's fine. Sometimes you only get the breathy voices, like, that's good, you know, like, just like that. But, like, this is, I can't catch my breath. I can't actually formulate words. Like, he actually was, like, stumbling over it like he would. Yeah, that was awesome. Thumbs up, Cornell. That was fucking dope. I love that. And on top of that, he's got an accent, so I was like, yes, thank you. So nice. But all in all, 3 stars. I plan on picking up some more Kiera Andrews. I'm having a really good time with her. I'm not tired of her yet. But I would like to know what it's like to physically read one of her books. So I might pick up a book physically to read. But I do have another audiobook by her that I'm planning on checking out soon. But there's another one that just dropped that I really want to check out. So I'm going to take a break for a little bit from her. But yeah, that is what I completed in week 46. I did start a 4th book, and that is Roberto Bologna's 2666. This is a chonker. And a little bit about this story. This is actually on my self-destruct list, so I wanted to finally give it a shot. If this is told in 5 parts, there's actually 5 parts in this book, and I'm only in the first part, and they all converge around some murders that happen in this fictional town of Santa Teresa. And the first part is about some academics that are looking for this reclusive author. Still don't know how to say his fucking name. Archimboldi. Benna Archimboldi. Yeah, something like that. It's some fucked up name. I can only speak English, guys, okay? I can only speak English. But, it is a weird book. I'm gonna be very proud of myself if I finish this book. I'm gonna be very, very proud of myself. A, because it's been on my TBR for a very, very long time. 2, because if I can finish this book, I will feel like I can read more than just, like, I can read, like, literature, you know? Like, this is a literature fucking book, okay? And 3, I still got it. I can still do it and still figure it out. It's really good. It's not a hard read, but it's definitely, I have to read this book much differently than I read anything else. This is one of those books where there is stuff in between the lines. It was written with shit in between the lines. And you know there is, because he literally says it in the fucking book. He does. So I'm not very far into it. This is only 100 pages. Okay, there's like 986 pages. This is almost a 1,000-page book. Yeah, so this is a chonker. So I have to give it its fair shake. So I will have more to talk about this later, but right now I did start it, so that's progress. But yeah, that's what I got for week 46, guys. I hope you enjoy this, and I will see you guys all soon with another video.